Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story. Sofia Alvarez opened the mailbox like she was bracing for a ticking time bomb. Not that she had a real reason. Most of her mail lately was either overdue bills or pizza flyers. But something in the air told her this wasn't going to be a good day. And she was right. Amid the crumpled papers and yellowed envelopes, there was an elegant invitation with gold lettering and a satin ribbon that looked like it was picked just to irritate her. She didn't need to open it to know what it was, but she opened it anyway. Julian and Clara invite Sofia Alvarez to join them in celebrating their dream wedding, Saturday 7:00 p.m. at the Estrella Grande Hall. Sofia blinked, then blinked again. Didn't help. There was the name of her ex-boyfriend, the same guy who just 3 months ago was sharing a couch and headphones with her. And next to it the name of the woman he swore was just a co-worker. She sat on the low wall by the building entrance, as if her legs had stopped working. Wedding, she murmured. A wedding. It felt like the universe had set up a whole stage just to humiliate her. First the breakup with that tired speech about needing to find myself, then the Instagram pictures showing Julian finding Clara at some resort pool. Now an invitation to watch them get married at Estrella Grande Hall. No less the place she dreamed of getting married in since she was 15. Sofia jumped up. She stormed back to her apartment, tossed the invitation on the kitchen table, and stared at it like it had just insulted her. He's going to see. I'm going to that wedding, and I'm taking a date who will make Clara trip over her heels. She had no idea who this date would be, but that was a problem for tomorrow's Sofia. Today's Sofia was busy reliving painful memories. In the hours that followed, Sofia did what any reasonable person would do. She opened a box of chocolates, put on a romantic comedy, and pretended she wasn't silently planning a social revenge mission. But as the credits rolled and the sugar started to make her sick, a crazy idea began to take shape. She didn't need a real boyfriend. She just needed someone who looked better than Julian. Tall, mysterious, maybe someone who looked like he'd been to Europe, or at least knew how to wear a suit. The problem, Sofia didn't know anyone like that, and she definitely didn't have the money to hire a handsome extra. The next day, after another failed attempt to get her old job back, and a reminder from her mom that revenge doesn't put food on the table, Sofia went for a walk. She didn't know where she was going. She just needed some air. That's when she saw him. Near the entrance of a fancy restaurant, a man was sitting on the ground, leaning against the wall. His hair was messy, his beard unshaven, and his jacket was way too worn for the warm weather. But somehow he seemed calm. He watched people pass by like he was observing aliens in a documentary. Sofia slowed down. Something about him caught her attention. He wasn't holding out his hand asking for money or looking sad. He was just watching with the eyes of someone who'd seen too much to act surprised anymore. She approached cautiously. Hey, you okay? The man looked at her slowly with a peaceful expression. His eyes were blue, intense, but not proud. Depends on what you call okay, he replied, his voice rough, deep, almost teasing. Sofia laughed, surprised by the answer. You've got no shoes and you look like you lost your way home. I lost more than that, he said with a shrug, but now I'm just enjoying the quiet. Got a name? Do you remember it? He hesitated. For a moment he seemed to weigh his answer like he was choosing which version of the story to tell. Elliot. Sofia smiled. Elliot, huh? Sounds like a soap opera character, and you sound like a reporter looking for a headline to get promoted. She let out a laugh. Close. I'm a former stationery store clerk, recently unemployed and with a wedding invitation that's been keeping me up at night. He raised an eyebrow. Now that's a modern-day tragedy. She crossed her arms. You up for a challenge? What kind of challenge? Come with me to a wedding this Saturday. I'll give you a shower, clean clothes, and real food. All you have to do is stay by my side and look incredibly interested in me. Elliot blinked slowly. Is this a date or identity theft? It's a temporary job. Sofia replied with a smile. And you look like you've got free time. There was a moment of silence. He studied her face like he was trying to figure out what she was hiding. But strangely, Sofia felt at ease. A dinner, a clean bed, and a hot shower. And maybe, if everything goes well, a stylish suit on loan. Elliot pretended to think for a few seconds. And what's the risk? Having fun, and seeing me blush if someone asks how we met. He smiled. For the first time, it was a real smile. Well, why not? Sofia blinked. Seriously, you seem way too fun to say no to. She held out her hand. He shook it firmly. At that moment, Sofia had no idea she was signing the craziest deal of her life, and that this Elliot was a lot more than he seemed, but that she'd find out later. Sophia didn't really know what to expect when she brought a stranger home, but it certainly wasn't this. Elliot, the man she had hired with a strange offer on the sidewalk outside a restaurant, walked beside her like he'd done it 100 times. He didn't seem nervous, curious, or even surprised by the idea of going to a strange woman's home. Worse, he acted like it was completely normal. When they arrived at Sophia's small apartment, 2 cramped rooms with yellow walls and furniture inherited from her great aunt, he just took off his shoes at the door and said, "Got any coffee?" Sophia blinked. "You move fast." "I run on caffeine," he said, tossing his worn backpack on the floor like he was a regular guest. She made the coffee, still feeling like she might be dreaming. And maybe she was. After all, who in their right mind picks up a man off the street to pretend to be their wedding date? But when she put the cup on the table and saw Elliot sit on the couch like a retired diplomat, the doubt came back. "Okay," she said, crossing her arms. "First, I need to lay down a few rules." Elliot nodded. "Serious?" "Of course. Let's make this crazy deal official." She held back a laugh. "First, you can't disappear before Saturday. Second, no making up stories about aliens, cults, or international crime. Third, you need to act like a guy completely in love with me. Intense looks, quiet compliments, that kind of thing." Elliot took a sip of coffee and smiled. "Is this an acting test or an emotional trap? It's social survival. I need to show that I'm fine, that I've moved on." "You know the idiot who sent you a wedding invitation?" he asked casually. Sophia frowned. "How do you know that?" "You told me yesterday, remember? She didn't, but she let it go." "All right. And what about you? Don't you have any rules for me?" Elliot set the cup on the arm of the couch and looked at her. "Just one." "What is it?" "Don't ask anything about my past." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "Nothing at all, nothing. Not even what you did before. Especially not that." She crossed her arms, skeptical. "What if someone at the wedding asks?" "Make something up," he said with a teasing smile. "You seem good at that." Sophia sighed, but inside she was curious. That man didn't seem like a homeless guy. The way he spoke, his sharp vocabulary, the calm that was too strange for someone living on the street. "All right," she said. "No questions. Just let me turn you into someone who looks like they belong on a red carpet." He made a theatrical bow on the couch. "I'm in your hands, Miss Alvarez." The next morning, Sophia borrowed a barber kit from her cousin, who's a hairdresser. With the case in hand and a determined look, she walked into the bathroom where Elliot waited with a towel over his shoulder. "Let's start your transformation," she announced, like she was about to sculpt a masterpiece. Elliot sat down in front of the mirror. Sophia tied up her hair, straightened her posture, and started cutting, combing, trimming the beard. She used cream lotion cologne, anything she could find in free samples, expired sales queue, or forgotten in the back of a cabinet. "If you give me an uneven cut, we'll have a problem," he joked, closing his eyes as she carefully shaved. "Stay quiet or I'll shave off half your eyebrow." Elliot laughed, and the sound of his laughter distracted Sophia for just a split second, just enough to slip and leave a crooked line on his chin. "Oops. Nothing. All under control." She spun the chair, made him stand, and handed him a dress shirt. "Try this on. Are you always this bossy, only when I'm desperate?" Elliot went into the bedroom and came out a few minutes later, and Sophia froze. The man who came out wasn't the same one she had found on the sidewalk. With his hair neatly styled, a clean shave, a slightly fitted white shirt, and dark jeans, Elliot looked like he'd stepped out of a high-end cologne commercial. Tall, broad-shouldered, with an intense gaze. Sophia let out an involuntary wow. Then she coughed to cover it up. "Okay, you'll do," she said, trying not to sound too impressed. Elliot spun on his heels like he was walking an invisible runway. "So, boss, what's my story on Saturday?" She paused for a few seconds. "You're an international sustainability consultant. You work with renewable energy. You travel a lot. We met at an event on urban reforestation. You complimented my volunteer work with rescued animals, and it was love at first sight." Elliot looked at her, trying to keep a straight face. "Wow, that's very specific. How long have you been rehearsing that?" "Since last night. And you think people will believe it?" Sophia smiled. "No, but you'll make it look real." He winked. "I love a challenge." That night, Sophia had trouble sleeping, partly from nerves, partly because Elliot was stretched out on the living room couch like he'd lived there for years. She heard his footsteps in the kitchen, the sound of the faucet, and his steady breathing after a few hours. It was strange having someone around, but somehow it wasn't uncomfortable. When she woke up in the morning, he was already up making coffee, shirtless. Sophia looked away, embarrassed. "Do you always act like you own the place? Just returning the favor and trying not to burn your toaster." She sighed and took the cup he handed her. "We're only missing one thing." What's that practice being a real couple? Eye contact, touching chemistry. Elliot smiled. You don't think we have chemistry? She blushed. That was rhetorical. Too bad. I thought it was a compliment. Sophia shook her head laughing, and for a moment she forgot. It was all just a crazy plan. It felt almost real. It was Saturday. Sophia Alvarez stood in front of the mirror trying to convince herself this was just another social event like a birthday party or a school reunion with champagne spotlights and the presence of the ex-boyfriend who broke her heart and didn't even leave the Wi-Fi paid. She smoothed out the emerald green dress borrowed from her cousin who swore it brought out her eyes, though Sophia had her doubts, since her eyes were basic brown, and the fabric felt like it could rip with any deep breath. Elliot walked out of the bathroom adjusting the cuffs on his navy blue shirt and the tie Sophia had put together with the help of an internet tutorial. He looked so at ease in that outfit. It was hard to believe that just days ago he was sleeping on the street and washing up in public fountains. Ready, she asked, trying to hide her nerves. Always, he replied with a half smile that seemed custom-made to shake her emotional balance. In the taxi on the way to the venue, Sophia almost changed her mind 3 times. A voice inside her kept shouting that this made no sense, that it was crazy, that she was about to embarrass herself even more. Then Elliot casually took her hand. It's going to be fine, Sophia, he said sincerely. You've got this. She took a deep breath. Or everything's out of control, which for me is kind of the same thing. The Estrella Grande Hall was lit up like a movie set, white curtains, flowers hanging from the ceiling, soft music and waiters moving with trays like dancers. Walking in arm with Elliot, Sophia felt all eyes turned toward them, some in surprise, some out of curiosity, and a few with pure mockery. But no one said anything. Yet they walked down the main hallway to the guest area. The host greeted them with a rehearsed smile, asked for their names, and scribbled something illegible. Sophia was about to look for a quiet corner when she heard a familiar voice. Sophia. It was Julian. She turned around slowly as if bracing for impact. There he was in a flawless suit, hair perfectly styled, with that same expression, like he thought the world revolved around him. Wow, he said, looking at Elliot. Didn't expect to see you here? Sophia smiled. The invite said I was welcome, and I never miss a chance to celebrate someone else's love. Elliot gave Julian a firm handshake. I'm Elliot, Sophia's partner. Julian seemed to choke on his own breath. Partner like boyfriend. Elliot looked at Sophia and winked. Something like that. We met at a sustainability event, Sophia added. He works with urban reforestation, an ecologically passionate soul. Julian blinked, confused. He didn't seem to know whether to laugh or get annoyed. Interesting, he said. Sophia Clara's going to love seeing you. She's always admired you. Admired or envied, Sophia thought, but she smiled. I can't wait. They sat at a table near the dance floor. Elliot acted like he was used to events like that. He knew how to use the silverware, made quiet compliments about the menu, and even chatted with a couple of business people about sustainable investments, with a confidence Sophia definitely didn't expect. Where did you learn all this? She whispered between bites. On YouTube, he replied, not changing his tone. She laughed, but she wasn't sure if he was joking. When the music stopped, everyone turned to the main staircase. Clara appeared walking in a white dress with enough sparkle to light up a stadium. She smiled like someone who just won an award and knew she deserved it. Let the show begin, Sophia murmured. Clara walked over to their table. Sophia, she said, dragging each syllable with fake warmth. I'm so glad you came. And who is this Greek god? Sophia smiled with Oscar-worthy self-control. This is Elliot, my boyfriend. Clara looked Elliot up and down. Then she smiled, but her eyes said something else. A pleasure, she said. Where are you from? Norway, he answered right away. But I grew up here. My father was a diplomat. I prefer a simple life, but she dragged me here. Clara widened her eyes. How interesting. She turned around and walked off, looking like she needed a moment to process. Sophia covered her mouth to keep from laughing out loud. You just made up an international background. It was that, or say I lived under the South Street Bridge. I don't know which one's less likely. Elliot looked around. Do you want to dance now? Now is always a good time. She hesitated, then agreed. On the dance floor, under the dim lights and soft music, he pulled her close, not too close, just enough for their eyes to meet. Are you having fun? He asked. I'm surprised. By what? By you? I'm full of surprises, Sophia. She was about to respond when the main microphone turned on. Julian stepped onto the stage with a glass in hand. Before the official toast, he said, his voice slightly slurred. I want to thank a few special people, friends, family, and of course my dear Sophia Alvarez. Everyone turned to look at her. Sophia felt the ground drop beneath her. A wonderful woman, Julian continued. We had our time, our story, and it's nice to see you've moved on with a Norwegian. Some people laughed. Sophia stood up, swallowing hard. Excuse me, I need some air. She stepped out into the garden. Her heart was beating too fast. Seconds later, Elliot appeared. Are you okay? He did that on purpose, she said, angry. He wanted to embarrass me, and you handled it like a queen. She let out a nervous laugh. This is all crazy, Elliot. I made up a boyfriend, brought you to a fake wedding, and now I'm hiding in a garden. Sometimes a little crazy is the only way to stay sane. She looked at him. He was so close, so calm, so far from the mess she'd made. Who are you really? Elliot paused for half a second. A man who hates weddings. But for some reason, I'm really enjoying this one. Sophia opened her mouth to ask more, but the answer would have to wait, because at that very moment her world was about to change. And not because of Julian or Clara, but because of a woman who was walking in from the side of the garden. A woman looked at Elliot for 2 seconds. Liam, she said in a low voice. I know you. You shouldn't be here. Sophia slowly turned her head. The woman who had just entered the garden looked like she stepped out of a detective movie, confident heels, a sharp blazer hair pulled back in a tight bun, and an even sharper expression. I know you, she repeated now, staring directly at Elliot. He didn't react right away. He just looked at the woman with a slight lift of his eyebrow like he was trying to remember where he'd seen her. I think you've got the wrong person, he said in that calm tone. Sophia was beginning to recognize as his default defense. The woman crossed her arms. Really? Because you were a regular at the Viridian Tech front desk 2 years ago. Scruffy beard shirts, always a bit wrinkled but hard to forget. Sophia felt a chill down her spine. Viridian Tech, that tech company. The woman nodded, still watching Elliot closely. And if I'm not mistaken, you weren't just some random visitor. Elliot took a deep breath, his expression unchanged. Ma'am, you're interrupting a private moment. I'm warning you, she said. Not everyone's forgotten who you are. With that, she turned and disappeared into the bushes like she'd completed a mission. Sophia stared at Elliot for a long moment, trying to piece it together, but he didn't say a word. He just put his hands in his pockets and looked away. Who are you, really, Elliot? That's all you need to know. Viridian Tech Elliot. That's not nothing. You told me not to ask about your past, but now your past is knocking on the door, and in high heels. He sighed. You want the truth. That would be great. He turned toward her, his face more serious than ever. I used to have money, a lot, fame, status, headlines. I was the heir to Viridian Tech. My full name is Elliot Viridian, but everything fell apart. A scandal with my name on it, a lawsuit that wasn't even mine. And just like that, I lost everything, or almost everything. Sophia blinked, trying to process. You were a billionaire. I was CEO for 6 months. Then my own board pushed me out. I'm not looking for pity. I just needed to disappear for a while, to be invisible, to breathe away from cameras, reports, lawyers. She took a step back. And now I'm here pretending to be your boyfriend to get back at your ex. Life's funny, isn't it? Sophia ran a hand over her face. This is a lot. You could have told me, and would you have taken me to the wedding anyway? Silence. Maybe not, she admitted. Exactly. They walked back into the reception in silence. The party was livelier now, with people dancing, louder music, and glasses clinking everywhere. Sophia tried to act normal, but her mind was spinning. Elliot was an ex-billionaire, probably still more than he let on, and she was in too deep. That's when Clara showed up again now, with an even more curious look. Everything okay? You two disappeared. Fresh air, Sophia said, forcing a smile. We needed a little breather. I can imagine. I was just telling Julian how intense you two seem. Elliot stepped forward. That's what happens when there's real chemistry. Clara swallowed hard. Sophia saw the discomfort in her eyes, and for a second felt a guilty kind of satisfaction. But peace didn't last long. Someone bumped into Elliot hard. One of the groomsmen, clearly drunk, and the wine glass he was holding spilled, staining his shirt red. Great, he muttered, looking down at his shirt. Sophia grabbed a napkin from the table and tried to blot the stain, but it was useless. Come on, the bathroom's this way. She led him down a side hallway. They entered a private restroom decorated with fake flowers and scented candles that felt more like false advertising. Elliot took off his jacket and unbuttoned his shirt, revealing a thin scar near his left shoulder. Sophia reached out before she could stop herself. Is that from a fall? She said too quickly. Elliot, it's just a scar. We all have them. She stopped. I don't know what's true or false with you anymore. Then believe what you feel, and what I feel scares me. He looked at her. There was something in his eyes she hadn't noticed before. A quiet vulnerability, like underneath everything, there was a boy still trying to fix what had been broken. I can leave if you want, he said. Sophia shook her head. It's too late now. If you walk out, it'll look like I was dumped again. He smiled sadly. Then let's keep up the act for now. Back in the hall, the dance floor was even more crowded. Sophia avoided direct stares, but the whispers were impossible to miss. Someone had recognized Elliot, and she knew it was only a matter of time before something bigger came out. Julian got on stage again, now with Clara beside him to give the official toast. Dear friends, he began, today we celebrate not only our love, but also the life that goes on, that reinvents itself and second chances. Sophia felt his eyes on her. Elliot took her hand under the table. Just ignore it. I'm trying. Clara then grabbed the mic. And we want to thank everyone who came, especially those who brought a little drama. After all, what's a party without a plot twist? The crowd laughed, but there was tension in the air. Sophia took a deep breath. Things were getting out of hand. She stood up. Elliot followed her. Where are you going? Home. Before I become a meme. Wait. She stopped at the door. This whole thing started as a dumb idea. I know. But now there are feelings involved, and part of me wishes you were just a regular guy, that this story was simple. I wish that too, Elliot said. But it's not. And she walked out. Elliot didn't follow her. Not yet. Sophia walked into the apartment like someone coming back from a battlefield. She kicked off her shoes into the corner of the room, tossed her clutch onto the table, and collapsed on the couch, still wearing the tight dress and with hairpins poking her scalp. The soft light from the kitchen reflected off the floor, and everything felt too quiet. She could still smell the party on her skin, expensive perfume, fake flowers, and social tension. Clara's smug face, Julian's sarcastic voice on the mic, and Elliot's eyes that looked stirred something in her, something dangerous. She sighed, took off her earrings, and let her head sink into the pillow. She wanted to sleep for 3 days and wake up believing it had all been just a bad soap opera script, but she didn't even get to close her eyes. The doorbell rang. Sophia froze. She got up slowly, still barefoot, and walked to the door. She looked through the peephole. Elliot. She hesitated. She wasn't sure she was ready for more questions without answers, or for the emotional mess he seemed to carry in his jacket pocket, but she opened the door. I thought it'd be better if we talked, he said, leaning on the doorframe. Sophia crossed her arms. Are you going to tell me another half-truth? No. I came to say thank you. For what? For reminding me I can still be someone outside all the drama, for making me laugh, for letting me into your life. Even if it started with a crazy moment. She sighed. Are you hungry? He smiled. Always. A few minutes later, they were sitting on the living room floor, sharing a pack of cookies and 2 mugs of tea that Sophia swore were expired. She had changed into a baggy sweatshirt, and Elliot wore a borrowed t-shirt with an astronaut cat on it. Nice pajamas, he said, taking a bite. Gift from my grandma. She thought I needed to stand out more. Well, she nailed it. I've never seen a cat so focused on floating in space. Sophia laughed, but her laugh quickly faded into a question stuck in her throat. Why did you stay on the street so long? You could have disappeared another way. I don't know. Moved to another country. Changed your name. Lived in a cave. Elliot looked at his mug for a few seconds before answering, because I wanted to understand what it's like to be invisible. When everything fell apart, I realized I was surrounded by people who only cared about what I had. When I lost it all, they disappeared. Life on the streets showed me a different kind of truth. Harsh, ugly, but real. No one there wanted anything except to survive, and somehow I felt more human. Sophia looked at him. There was no drama in his voice, just truth. So now what? Are you going back to that world I don't know? Part of me wanted to disappear for good, but then I met you. She looked away. You've really confused me, Elliot. A lot. I'm confused too. I still don't know if you're a hidden genius or just a functional madman. A bit of both. Sophia laughed again, this time with less weight in her chest. So where are you sleeping? I could go back to the shelter. I'm used to it. Sleep here. On the couch, of course. You're practically part of the furniture now. Are you sure? She nodded. Just don't snore or I'll kick you out with a wooden spoon. The next morning, Sophia woke up to the smell of coffee. She stretched, shuffled her feet to the kitchen, and found Elliot in an apron, which was odd considering she didn't even know she owned one. I made coffee and toast. Are you in a commercial now? Just a grateful man with basic survival skills. She took the cup. So now we're what partners in crime, he said with a smile. And how long are you staying? Long enough to figure out how to make you smile every day. Sophia blushed. That was pretty cheesy. I'm adjusting, but the peace didn't last long. That afternoon on her way back from the store, Sophia noticed a black car parked across the street. A man in a suit sat inside wearing sunglasses and talking on his phone. She walked faster, trying to ignore it, but something in her gut tightened. Once inside the building, she looked out the window. The car was still there. Later, she told Elliot. His smile vanished instantly. Was it a black sedan? Dark windows? Yes. Why? This might be complicated. Elliot, maybe they're looking for me or watching me. People who want me gone for good. People dangerous. He hesitated. I was hoping for more time. Time for what to say goodbye properly. Sophia grabbed his arm. You're not running again. Not now. I don't want to put you at risk. It's too late. I'm already in this. Elliot lowered his head. Just give me one more day, Sophia, one last day with you. She nodded, not really sure why. Or maybe she knew because part of her didn't want to imagine life without him anymore. The next day began with a strange feeling in the air, like something was about to happen. Sophia woke up even before her alarm went off, her heart racing, and her thoughts all over the place. Seeing Elliot on the couch should have seemed ridiculous. A stranger, a former billionaire in disguise, sleeping with his mouth open, covered with a leopard print blanket, hugging the stuffed pillow she got when she was 15. And yet there was something oddly comforting about that scene. She stood at the living room door for a few minutes, watching him sleep, trying to understand what she felt. It wasn't just confusion. It was something else, a quiet, restless kind of affection, a need to protect him, and at the same time to strangle him for all the things he hadn't said. Elliot slowly opened his eyes, as if he could feel her staring. Good morning, he murmured, his voice raspy from sleep. Do you always watch people while they sleep? Only when they hide billionaire identities in their hoodie pockets. He smiled. Do I look like someone who owns stocks? You look like someone who needs to brush their teeth. After breakfast made with almost expired white bread and powdered juice, Sophia decided she needed to get out, clear her head, think. Elliot offered to go with her, but she said no. Give me an hour. I need to think alone. And you need a real shower. He raised his hands in surrender. Fair enough. I'll use the passion fruit shampoo. She left laughing, but the laugh didn't last past the corner. Something felt wrong. She could feel it. She walked to the central square where she used to sit and think whenever life felt chaotic, the same square where just a few days ago she had met Elliot for the first time. She sat on the same bench. The irony didn't go unnoticed, and that's where she was scrolling through her phone when something made her heart stop for a second. A news alert popped up in bold letters. Former Viridian Tech CEO spotted in southern neighborhood after 2-year disappearance. The attached photo was distant and slightly blurry but unmistakable. It was Elliot sitting with her in the garden of the event hall. Sophia felt her blood run cold. She looked around, half expecting photographers to pop out of the trees. She took a deep breath and clicked on the article. Anonymous sources say Elliot Viridian, heir and former president of Viridian Tech, is alive and was seen at a private social event last weekend. The company declined to comment. Elliot has been missing since the 2021 scandal when he resigned and disappeared from public life. Sophia read it all in one go. Her head throbbed. This was no longer just personal. It was front-page news. It was exposure, and she was right in the middle of it. She stood up quickly. She had to go back. When she got home, the door was slightly open. She froze. She pushed it slowly, quietly. The living room was empty. So was the kitchen. Elliot, nothing. Suddenly, she heard muffled voices coming from the bedroom. She quietly approached and put her ear to the door. I told you it wasn't the right time. She recognized his voice, tense. You don't get to pick the time, Elliot. This is out of control. They're already closing in on you. If you don't act now, you'll lose everything again. The other voice was female, cold, professional. Sophia pushed the door open. Elliot was standing by the bed, phone in hand on speaker. The woman on the other end didn't even seem to have the patience to breathe. Who is that? Sophia asked. Elliot hung up immediately. It's not what it looks like. Oh, great. Because it looks like you've been hiding in my apartment while your name is all over the internet, and some mystery woman is trying to run your life from afar. She's my legal advisor. She's trying to keep the media off my back. Sophia crossed her arms. And when were you planning to tell me I was going to tell you today? Of course. After lunch during the soap opera, he sighed and ran a hand through his hair. Sophia, I didn't want to drag you into this. I swear. I tried to keep everything under control, but it got away from me. No, what got away was the bare minimum of honesty. I was just trying to protect you. From who, your past or yourself, silence. I need to think, she said. And honestly, I need you to leave. Elliot lowered his head, took a deep breath, and grabbed his backpack. If that's what you want, it is. He walked past her without another word. The door closed slowly behind him, and the sound of the doorknob turning echoed louder than any argument. Sophia spent the rest of the day trying to stay busy. She did laundry, cleaned the bathroom, and rearranged the kitchen silverware in alphabetical order. A completely pointless task, she knew, but oddly therapeutic. Late in the afternoon, she got a call from a friend who worked at a local news agency. "Hey, did you hear what they're saying you're Elliot Viridian's new girlfriend? It's all over the gossip sites. There's your photo, your name, even a link to your profile." Sophia felt her stomach turn. "They're saying my name, yes, and it's not mild. Some people are saying you were an accomplice, that you helped him hide, that it was all a setup." She hung up, not knowing what to say. Accomplice. She was being accused of hiding a former billionaire. She grabbed her phone. The notifications wouldn't stop: friend requests, messages from strangers, aggressive comments on old photos. It felt like her life had turned into a reality show she never signed up for. By early evening, the doorbell rang. Sophia didn't want to open it. She didn't want to see anyone, but something in her chest said it was him. And it was Elliot now, in a dark jacket with tired eyes, was holding an envelope. "I came to drop this off." "What is it?" "My documents and a letter. It explains everything if you want to read it." She took the envelope with both hands but didn't open it. "You said you wouldn't come back." "I know, but I also know I need to end this the right way." "You already ended it, Elliot. When you lied, when you left, when you used me to hide." He shook his head. "I didn't use you. I did hide, yes, but you brought me back. You made me remember who I was before it all. Before the money, the pressure, the betrayal. With you, I was just Elliot for the first time in a long while." Sophia didn't answer. He took a step back. "If you don't want to see me again, I get it, but please read the letter, even if it's just to hate me with the truth." And he left. Sophia sat at the kitchen table with the envelope in front of her. She opened it slowly. The letter was handwritten, the words leaning slightly steady on the page. "Sophia, when I ran away from my old life, I didn't know what I was looking for. I just wanted to disappear, erase the name, the image, the pain. But you found me with your wild questions, your sharp humor, your courage to face the chaos. You made me laugh when all I wanted was to vanish. You brought me back. Yes, I lied. I hid. But everything I felt with you was real. And if you can still see anything in me, even after the mistakes, I'll be waiting." On the other side of the bridge, Elliot. Sophia leaned back in the chair. Tears threatened to fall, but she held them in. She didn't know if it was pain, anger, or longing. Maybe all of it at once. She stood up, grabbed her jacket, and left. The sky was already darkening when she reached the South Street Bridge, the place he always talked about like a quiet symbol. And there he was, sitting on the edge, looking at the horizon with the calm of someone who's already lost everything, yet still watches the world go by. "You came," he said without turning. "I came to say I haven't forgiven you yet." "Fair enough, but maybe I want to try to understand." He turned his head and their eyes met. "That's enough." And for the first time, neither of them needed to say anything else. The night after Sophia met Elliot at the bridge, she woke up feeling like everything around her was on pause, like time had stopped breathing, and the world was waiting to see what she would do next. Elliot was still asleep on the couch, his face calm, almost peaceful. He looked like a different person, nothing like the man she first met on the sidewalk. It was as if he was slowly taking off the armor that kept him hidden and becoming real again. But Sophia didn't feel ready. Inside, she was still at war. She closed the kitchen door, gently poured herself a weak cup of coffee, and sat at the table with her phone in hand. More messages, more notifications. Her name was still everywhere online. Gossip sites were speculating everything from a secret romance with the rebel billionaire to conspiracy theories, saying she was the mastermind behind his escape. "This is getting out of hand," she muttered. And it was true. People were trying to add her mother on Facebook. Her old boss gave an interview, saying he'd always suspected she had a double life. Someone had even created a fake Instagram account under the name Sophia Official Viridian. That morning she made a decision. She had to disappear. Breathe. Think far away from all of it. She packed a small backpack, left a note on the fridge. "I need some time. Don't look for me. I'll come back." And left without looking back. Elliot woke up a little later, with the smell of lukewarm coffee still in the air. He yawned, rubbed his face, and called out instinctively, "Sophia, silence." He got up, walked to the kitchen, saw the cup alone on the table and the note on the fridge. He read it once, twice, 3 times, as if on the 4th it would say something different. "No," he whispered, "not now." The call came just minutes later. It was Nora, his legal advisor. "We have a problem." Another one. The wedding video leaked online. One of the groomsmen posted it in his stories, and it got shared. "The media already knows you're with her, and she's gone." "I know, Elliot. This is serious. You're walking a fine line between staying under the radar and becoming an international scandal. If Sophia isn't found soon, the authorities will assume the worst. You think she ran away from me? I think she ran away from what this all became. From the weight you carry from the spotlight. He pressed the phone against his ear. I'll find her. How? The same way she found me. On the other side of the country, in the small village where her grandmother was born, Sophia sat on the porch of a modest house surrounded by plants, cats, and silence. Aunt Maria, who had taken her in without asking questions, served her lemon tea and said things like, "Life only rushes when we try to slow down." Sophia had turned off her phone. She didn't want to see more headlines, messages, or questions. She needed to remember who she was before it all, before the fancy dress, before the crazy plan, before Elliot. She needed to know if there was still a Sophia inside who wasn't tied to the word scandal. Every day she walked to the church square and watched the older men play dominoes. Sometimes she'd write scattered thoughts, memories, and phrases in a spiral notebook, and she tried hard not to think about that crooked smile, that deep voice telling her she had brought him back. But she couldn't help it. Elliot was in everything, in the clouds, in the songs, in the little gestures, and even far away it felt like he was still by her side. Meanwhile, Elliot did what he did best. He investigated. He found old photos of Sophia with her grandmother, searched Aunt Maria's name in public records. And in less than 24 hours, he knew she had relatives in a village 300 kilometers from the capital, but he didn't take a helicopter or a luxury car. He went by bus just like she would. He got off at a dirt road station with a backpack and a borrowed hat to avoid being recognized. He walked through the simple streets asking about a short girl with wild hair who talks to herself while walking. Finally, an older woman pointed to the house with lavender pots on the porch. "There, but take it slow. That girl's got a bruised heart." He thanked her and walked up. Before he could knock, the door opened. Sophia looked at him in silence. "How did you find me?" "You taught me how to look." She looked away. "You should be hiding. You're taking a big risk coming here." "I've already risked everything. One more thing won't change much." "Elliot, please let me speak." She nodded slowly. "I know I made mistakes. I kept too much from you. Dragged you into a storm you didn't ask for. But even with all the chaos, every moment with you was real. You lied. I lied about who I used to be, but not about who I am with you." Sophia took a deep breath. "I ran because I got scared. Scared I'd lose myself in all this madness. And I ran because I didn't want to be anyone anymore. But you made me want to come back." Silence. Aunt Maria's voice echoed from the kitchen. "If you're going to propose, wait until the coffee is ready." Sophia laughed, and something inside her cracked. Or maybe it healed. Or both. She opened the door fully. "Come in, but if you get dramatic, I'll make you do the dishes." In the days that followed, Elliot stayed at Aunt Maria's house. He helped in the garden, burned the toast at breakfast, and was officially adopted by one of the house cats. Sophia still didn't know what they were. A couple friends, two emotional runaways trying to find themselves. But she knew her heart felt lighter when he was around. One night, sitting on a bench in the square, Elliot pulled an envelope from his pocket. "This is what's left of my share in the company. A full buyout offer. If I sign, I cut all ties and I can start over from scratch. Why haven't you signed?" "Because I need to know if you'd be part of that new beginning." Sophia was quiet. "I don't know if I can promise anything. I just know I don't want to keep running." "Me neither." She held out her hand. He placed the pen in it, and there, under the soft yellow light of an old street lamp, Elliot Viridian stopped being an heir, a CEO, a runaway, and became just Elliot again. 2 weeks later, the scandal vanished from the headlines. Viridian Tech released an official statement confirming the former president's voluntary departure and the closure of all open investigations. The media moved on as soon as a new celebrity decided to get married 3 times in 1 week. Sophia went back home, and Elliot went with her. This time, like he belonged, he no longer slept on the couch nor hid his scars. They didn't have everything figured out, didn't know what the future held, but they had the present, and that was enough until a new envelope arrived in the mail. Sophia picked it up, read it out loud, and her eyes widened. The City Council of Culture invites Sophia Alvarez and Elliot Viridian to receive the Social Action Medal for their community project. She choked up. "What project?" Elliot smiled. "Aunt Maria gave me an idea. Remember the cats, the garden, the tea, and your quotes in the notebook? Yes. We're starting a cultural center in the neighborhood, a welcoming space with art, food, plants, and cats." Sophia blinked. "You built a social project based on my aunt, and on your heart." She looked at him, trying to seem upset. "You're impossible, and you chose me anyway." At the award ceremony, simply but nicely dressed, they walked onto the stage holding hands. The presenter smiled. "And to think this all started with a wedding invitation." Sophia laughed. Elliot pulled her close and whispered, "Can I do this now?" Do what? He got down on one knee. The audience gasped. Sophia froze. "You're kidding." "No, I'm finally living." He opened a little box. Inside 2 hand-carved wooden rings. No diamonds, no big show. Sofia Alvarez, will you marry me? No exes, no mansions, no headlines, just me, you, and the beautiful mess we make work. She laughed. "This is so ridiculous." "I know, but it's so us." And she said yes. If someone had told Sofia Alvarez 3 weeks earlier that she'd be receiving a social action medal next to a former billionaire disguised as a homeless man, and that he would propose to her with hand-carved wooden rings, she would have laughed so hard she'd choke on her own spit. And yet there she was, with the ring on her finger, and a crowd clapping like it was a scene from a romantic movie with a guaranteed happy ending. But Sophia knew life didn't come with background music or smooth closing credits. Real life had fine print, and she still needed to read it carefully. "Are you sure about this?" Sophia asked, sitting cross-legged on the living room couch. She was wearing an old high school t-shirt and holding a cup of mint tea. Elliot stood in front of her, a button-down shirt open over a white tee, looking calmer than usual. "Sure about what?" "About all of this, us, the project, the marriage, the world knowing our names." He came closer, sat next to her with a quiet smile. "I was never sure about anything until I met you. And now I'm still not sure about everything, but I'm sure about you." Sophia pressed her lips together, thinking, that was beautiful and true, but I still need us to put things on paper. What kind of things? She got up, grabbed a sheet of paper and a pen, and came back with a playfully serious look. "Let's sign our emotional agreement, a realistic living together contract, no happily ever after promises with no expiration date. This is a heart with terms and conditions." Elliot raised an eyebrow, amused. "I'm listening." Sophia snapped her fingers and started dictating. Clause number 1. If we argue, no one gets to sleep on the couch unless the couch is actually more comfortable than the bed. "Agreed," he said, signing an invisible line in the air. Clause number 2. We take turns making breakfast, and burnt toast still counts as a valid effort. Deal. 3 secrets must be shared eventually, preferably before they become public scandals. You mean my past, yours, mine, ours. If you ever find out I'm heir to a lunchbox factory, I want you to know. Right away. Got it. Sophia smiled, satisfied. Then she hesitated. And there's the hardest emotional clause. Which one? She looked at him seriously. If either of us ever feels like we're losing who we are, we pause. We talk. We reassess. Elliot nodded slowly. Sophia, I don't want to drown you in my past or drag you into my old story. I want to build a new one with you. One where I still get to be me and I finally get to be just Elliot. In the days that followed, they started putting the cultural center plan into action. Aunt Maria's house, once just a quiet refuge, became the heart of the project. In the front, they built a small space for art workshops, a mini library, and a wall with inspiring quotes, all taken from Sophia's old notebook. Elliot handled the structure, the contacts with local nonprofits and businesses. Sophia ran the workshops, organized events, and painted murals with neighborhood kids. The project started small, but it quickly gained attention, not because of the Viridian name, but because of how naturally it grew. Everything there had soul, purpose, and truth. But success brought more than applause. One day, while she was organizing the donated books, Sophia had a visit from an elegant woman wearing high heels, expensive perfume, and a carefully calculated, friendly expression. "Miss Alvarez," she said, handing over a business card. "I'm Valeria Torres, director of the Horizon Foundation." Sophia read the card. She had heard of the foundation before. They had social projects in various cities, and a history of adopting local initiatives to expand them. "How can I help you? I saw your work with the Semillas Center. We're interested in investing full sponsorship, a new headquarters, a fixed salary for you and your team, national publicity." Sophia blinked. "That sounds generous." "It is, but we want to associate the foundation's image with your story, the overcoming the romance with Elliot, the modern-day fairy tale that sells." Sophia froze. "Oh, so that's it." Valeria smiled. "Think of it as an opportunity. Right now you're local. With us you can be international. And how long until we lose control over what we've built? The foundation only guides it." Sophia crossed her arms. "Thank you, but our project is about roots, and roots don't transplant easily." Valeria smiled, but her eyes went cold. "Think carefully. The world can forget quickly if you don't know how to keep their interest." Sophia handed back the card. "We're not here to entertain. We're here to transform." That night she told Elliot everything. "You turned them down?" he asked, surprised. "Of course. She wanted to turn us into a spectacle. sell our pain as an inspiring story. Elliot thought for a moment. Can I be honest? You should. Part of me was tempted. Sophia nodded. Me too, but only for a second. Then we're on the same page and on the same contract. One afternoon during one of the workshops, a girl named Lila asked Aunt Sophia, "Are you and Uncle Elliot really going to get married?" Sophia laughed. "Why do you ask?" "Because you argue with him like my mom used to argue with my dad before they got married." Sophia choked on the crayon. "And how are they now separated but happy?" "Oh, Lila." Sophia looked at Elliot, who was handing out books in the corner of the room. He smiled from afar, and she felt a warm tightness in her chest. Maybe happiness wasn't about contracts or ceremonies, but about moments like these, simple, true. A few days later, Elliot surprised her with a dinner in the backyard, string lights, a table with food he made, or almost the rice was from Aunt Maria, and soft music in the background. "What's this?" Sophia asked. "A reminder that even without a mansion, yacht, or red carpet, we can have luxury, true luxury, like hearing your laugh without interruptions." She laughed as if following the request. Then he pulled out a folded piece of paper from his pocket. "I made a contract too." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "Really?" He opened it and read, Clause 1. Love Sofia Alvarez every day. Even when she forgets the rice on the stove, complains about the smell of my shampoo, or tries to sleep with 3 cats in the bed. She covered her mouth with her hand, laughing, and touched. "And what's the penalty for breaking this clause?" "Having to win you over all over again. I hope you're good at it." "I've already started practicing." They toasted with orange soda and danced under the backyard lights. The following week, they organized the first open event at the Semillas Center art workshops, dance performances, live music. They invited the whole community. Elliot handled the reception with a badge that read Sophia's assistant. Sophia teased him. "I thought you were going to write CEO. Only for you." At the end of the day, exhausted, they sat on the sidewalk with ice cream in their hands and children running around. Sophia leaned her head on his shoulder. "Do you think we'll be able to keep all of this going if we keep putting clauses in the right places?" "Yes, on paper, in the heart." She smiled. "Then just in case, write down one more." "Go ahead." "Never let love become an obligation." Signed. He grabbed a stick and wrote on the dirt, "Love with clauses is love that's taken care of." And in that moment, they didn't need anything else. Real life was exactly that, messy and tense, full of spelling mistakes, but with sentences worth underlining. Sofia Alvarez was never a fan of audiences. Since she was a child, she'd hide behind the curtains during school performances and pretend to have a stomachache to escape group projects involving microphones. So the idea of speaking in front of 200 people at a formal ceremony made her hands cold and her stomach twist. Still there, she was wearing a burgundy dress, subtle makeup, and a pair of heels borrowed from her cousin, trying to look natural as the last guests arrived at the auditorium of the Fund Cultura Viva. The Semillas Center, the project she and Elliot had created, had been selected to receive an award for social impact. It was the kind of thing she'd only seen happen in news stories with background music. Now she was the one standing on stage. Elliot was backstage reviewing the speech he'd written by himself, promising it would be brief. But Sophia knew that looked the same one he had when he pretended not to know how to fry eggs just to convince her to make breakfast. "Elliot, please don't do anything crazy today," she said, adjusting the collar of his shirt. "This event isn't about us. It's about the project." "I know. I'll be low-key, like charmingly reserved low-key. Like I'll try not to steal the spotlight with my irresistible smile." She rolled her eyes. "I'm serious." "So am I." The ceremony started on time with formal speeches, nice words, and bureaucratic thanks. Sophia tried to look engaged, but the sweat on her palms gave her away. And now the host announced, "We invite to the stage the founders of the Semillas Center project, Miss Sofia Alvarez and Mr. Elliot Feridian." The audience applauded. Sophia felt her legs grow heavy. Elliot extended his hand as if she were a princess about to enter a grand ballroom. "Ready?" he whispered. "No, but here we go." They climbed the stage together. The applause stopped. Sophia stared at the crowd, the microphone, the lights, and froze. Elliot, noticing smoothly, took the lead. "Good evening. I know we're here because of a successful social project, but honestly, none of this would have happened if I hadn't literally tripped over Sofia Alvarez in the middle of the street in the rain. I might seem hard to knock down, but she managed it. And since then, I haven't gotten up the same way." The audience laughed, sharing the moment. "Sofia is the heart of Semillas Center, and she's also the heart of what's left of my life. I lost everything before her status company name, but she gave me back what mattered: humanity. And more than that, she gave me a place." Sophia blinked. That wasn't in the original speech. Elliot turned to her. "And since we're here with so many people who've supported us, I want to take this moment to say something I've been rehearsing for days." Her eyes widened. Elliot no, but he had already knelt. A whisper ran through the crowd, like an electric breeze. Sofia froze. "Sofia Alvarez," he said, holding the microphone and looking into her eyes. "Would you give me more than just your talent, your laughter and your patience with my bad jokes? Would you give me the chance to be yours forever?" Silence, long, heavy. Sofia felt the world spin slowly. The answer was stuck in her throat, not because she didn't love him. She knew she did. She loved Elliot with a silent intensity, the kind that makes you rethink everything you're sure about. But there, in front of everyone with cameras, phones, flashes, she felt the weight of a new fear. The fear that this wasn't just love, but expectation, pressure, image. She took a step back. "I'm sorry," she murmured and left the stage. The audience held its breath. Elliot stayed kneeling for another second, then stood up saying nothing. The host tried to recover the mood with a joke about live emotions, but the awkwardness was already apparent. Sofia didn't know how she got home. All she knew was that when she walked in, she threw her shoes far away, unbuttoned her dress in the hallway, and collapsed onto the bed with her head buried in the pillow. She felt like a monster. Elliot's face replayed in her mind in a loop, surprised, hurt, yet still kind. Why had she done that? Maybe because she was still trying to figure out where the project ended and life began. Or maybe because everything felt like it was moving too fast. Or perhaps because she knew herself well enough to know she needed time to think before taking such a big step, but none of that erased the pain or the guilt. Hours later, her phone buzzed with a single notification. "Elliot, I won't ask for answers. I just want you to know I'd still choose you, even without certainty." She didn't reply. She couldn't. In the following days, she avoided the cultural center. She asked Aunt Maria to cover her activities and spent most of her time locked in her room, trying to reconnect with something inside her that wasn't broken. Around town, the rumors started to spread naturally that she had rejected him, that the project was going to end, that it had all been a poorly calculated marketing stunt. But surprisingly, Elliot didn't disappear. He kept showing up at the center, organizing activities, smiling at the kids, handing out books, as if nothing had happened. Sofia watched from afar through the window of the room whenever she could, and every time she saw him, her chest tightened just a little more, until one day she found an envelope stuck under the door. Inside, a single sheet of paper. "Sometimes we need to go to the ends of the earth just to realize we were already where we were meant to be. I'm still here if you want to come back." Sofia folded the paper carefully and put it in the memory box she kept hidden at the back of the closet. The next day, she decided to return to the Semillas Center. She showed up unexpectedly wearing a cap and sunglasses, as if that was enough to go unnoticed. But when she entered the main hall, she was greeted with hugs, smiles, and cornbread made by the kids. Aunt Sofia's back, shouted Lila, pulling her by the hand to the bulletin board. Elliot was there hanging new photos on the activity board. When he saw her, he stopped, smiled gently, and simply said, "Hey, hey," she replied. They stood in silence for a few seconds, surrounded by the sound of children's laughter and hurried footsteps. Sofia took a deep breath. "I ran away. I know. And you stayed here because this place isn't just yours, it's ours. But I couldn't keep going without you. I'm sorry. You don't have to be." She bit her lower lip. "I felt pressured, so exposed, so expected to be something I was still trying to understand. I should have asked you privately. No, you followed your heart, and I needed to run away to listen to mine." He looked her in the eyes. And what did it say? She smiled, her eyes filled with tears. "That you don't need to be sure of everything to choose someone. You just need courage. So I'm not saying yes right now." Elliot nodded. "That's fine. But I'm not saying no either. Even better." She took his hand. "For now, I just want to live with you. No rush, no stage. Just us and the kids and the cats and Aunt Maria. Exactly. Our real version of happy as long as it lasts." Elliot pulled her into a hug. And there in the middle of the cultural center, with the smell of fresh paint and cornbread in the air, they found a new kind of promise, one without fanfare, one that started with silence and trust. In the days that followed, Elliot deleted all notifications from his phone, declined interviews, and disconnected from social media. Sofia temporarily deactivated her profile and spent more time with the kids painting murals with phrases like, "Being happy doesn't need an audience," and "Love that doesn't rush blooms." They became the couple no one recognized on the street, and the couple that recognized each other in small gestures. They shared chores, dreamed of the future, argued over which seasoning to use in the soup, laughed at bad jokes, and reconnected fully. That morning, Sofia woke up to the sound of church bells ringing in the distance. She was lying on the couch in the living room, hugging one of Elliot's pillows which smelled like him and had a little frayed corner that she always promised to sew. The house was quiet but not empty. It had never been empty since then. She got up slowly, barefoot passed through the kitchen, and found a scene that seemed to already be part of the routine. Elliot preparing coffee with the care of a French chef, wearing the apron with a lemon print that Aunt Maria had given him. As a living together prize, "Did you sleep well?" he asked without turning around. "I slept enough to dream." "With what?" "With a life where things make sense." He chuckled softly. "You want sense. You'll have to swap this coffee for chamomile tea and 5 therapy sessions." "Too late. I'm already addicted to the chaos." He turned around holding 2 steaming cups. "Great, because we've got another dose coming." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "Why? What did you do?" "Nothing, but I got an email from a publisher." She choked on the smell of coffee. A publisher. Someone heard about Samila's Center, the public marriage proposal, and the no that was the most polite rejection of the century. They want to turn it all into a book, a real love story in a world of filters and performances. Sophia sighed. "They want to turn our life into a romance script. I told them we weren't interested, but they insisted. They even suggested a ghostwriter to work with us. This is going too far." "I agree," but he looked at her with that mischievous look. "What if we told our version our way? No glamour, no making things up. Just the truth, the stumbles, the fears, the hugs at the wrong time, the contract with clauses, the cakes you burn." "Hey," he laughed. "A book that inspires without lying, that talks about loving someone without turning them into an unreachable ideal." Sophia was silent for a few seconds. "And if they get it wrong, then we'll fix it. But at least the story will be ours." She sighed. "Let's think about it later. Right now I want to live a real chapter without needing to revise it." In the weeks that followed, life returned to a light but no less intense rhythm. Sophia went back to teaching art at the center, and Elliot set up a small mobile library with a cart. He built himself the bibliocaro, as the kids called it. It was a blue-painted wheelbarrow with wide wheels and compartments for books, games, and notebooks. They would push it through the neighborhood streets, offering free reading in parks and bus stops. The project slowly became a part of the city's landscape. But one rainy afternoon, something unexpected happened. Sophia was walking home alone after picking up paint for a new workshop. She was crossing a narrow street, her feet soaked and the bag slipping from her hand when she heard someone call her name. "Sofia Alvarez." She turned around instinctively, ready, with a defensive answer. 2 men in suits were leaning against a discreet car holding briefcases. "We're from the legal department of Viridian Holdings. We need to talk to you." "About what?" "About Mr. Elliot Viridian and the estate that still legally belongs to him." Sophia furrowed her brow. "Elliot doesn't want any of that. He's already given it up." "Formally, yes. But there are open clauses, and there's internal movement in the company trying to bring him back to the board. You want him to come back as CEO again. We want to avoid someone else taking over and destroying what's left of the company." Sophia gripped the bag tighter. "Then why are you telling me this?" "Because from what we know, you're the one who can convince him of anything." She took a deep breath. "That's not true. It may not be, but he listens to you." Sophia spent the whole night turning the situation over in her mind. She didn't want to drag Elliot into it, but she also knew that if she didn't say anything, she might regret it later. He deserved to make the decision himself. The next morning, she told him everything. Elliot listened attentively without interrupting. "They said that I should go back to the company, that you could save it or watch it be destroyed by people who only care about profit." He stood up, walked to the window, and stood silent for a few minutes. "I don't know if I can go back," he said, finally. "That place, there's so much that hurt me. But there's also so much of what you built." He turned around, hesitant. "Do you think I should?" Sophia approached slowly. "I think you should choose based on what you feel, not what you think you should do. And if I want to try, then try. But do it for yourself. And know that no matter what happens, you're not the same man you were before. You're the Elliot who carries books in a blue cart and fights with cats for space on the couch." He smiled. "And you, I'll be here taking care of the kids, the paints, and the mess we leave behind." Elliot left the following week. He didn't take a suit or a tie. He only took his direct approach, his steady gaze, and the conviction that he could, yes, participate in what he once helped build, without losing himself in the process. Sophia saw him off at the bus station. The goodbye was brief, without tears. "When will you be back?" "When it's over." "That's vague." "I know. Are you scared?" "I am, but I'm more afraid of not trying." "Then go and come back whole." During his absence, Sophia kept herself busy. She organized workshops, set up a new bulletin board with collages made by the kids, replanted the center's gardens, and started writing about the days, about everything. Not like a journal, but like a map, a trail, something Elliot could Follow back. He called every night. He told her about the meetings, the reactions, the surprises. The company is in crisis, but the board is divided. There was resistance, but also hope. I think they want change. They just don't know how to call it. Call it real life, she answered. And show them you don't need a tie to be heard. After 11 days, Elliot came back. Sophia waited for him at the bus stop with the Bibliocaro parked beside her. So she asked as he stepped off. He smiled, tired but at peace. I'm not going back as CEO, but I agreed to be a mentor to the new director, and I'll oversee the transition from afar the way I believe in. And they accepted. After a lot of insistence, I showed them the reports from the Semillas Center, the stats, the impacts. They finally understood that success isn't just measured by profit. I always said you were good with words. I just repeated what you taught me. That night, they celebrated with poorly cut pizza and soda in glass cups. They laughed at the kids trying to perform magic with cardboard and were moved by the presentation of certificates to the teenagers who finished the first photography course. Sophia sat next to Elliot by the courtyard mural. I think we're ready. For what? For the final chapter. Do we still have one? Just one. And what happens in it? Sophia smiled. You'll find out tomorrow, but I can give you a little hint. There will be confetti cake and maybe a cat dressed in a suit. Sounds promising and ridiculous. Our kind of ending. The city woke up restless, not because of political news, not because of business scandals, nor because of the weather forecast that had been wrong once again. It was a different kind of buzz, a chatter that spread from mouth to mouth, from neighbor to neighbor, from market vendors to the auntie selling empanadas in the square. There was going to be a wedding, but not just any wedding. The rumor said it would be at the cultural center. They said the bride was a girl who once took a homeless man to her ex's wedding, and the groom they claimed was actually a millionaire in disguise. They said a lot of things, and all of them were right, and yet far from the truth. Sophia woke up early that morning, but she wasn't nervous. Unlike all the brides she saw in movies, she didn't trip over her veil, didn't silently shed tears, and didn't have a panic attack over the decorations. She was calm, maybe because she knew exactly where she was standing, who she was marrying, and most importantly, why she had chosen this path. The ceremony was set in the Semillas Center courtyard, surrounded by colorful murals, plants in recycled tire pots, and little handmade flags made by the kids. No red carpet. Instead, there were dry leaves collected from the square spread by little hands with the enthusiasm of a festa junina. Her dress, a simple straight linen design, the neighborhood seamstress had made in exchange for a month of painting classes for her grandchildren. Sophia looked at herself in the makeshift mirror made from an old piece of glass and smiled. She looked perfect. Elliot, on the other hand, was wearing a navy blue suit with no tie, his hair combed with effort, and a nervousness he tried to hide with awkward jokes. He was leaning against the main building door trying to breathe normally, while the makeshift groomsman adjusted the last-minute decorations. Lila, the curious girl who was always asking if Elliot and Sophia were getting married, ran in with a cardboard box. Uncle Elliot the cat ran away again. What Milo? Aunt Sophia said he was going to be the cat of the rings, but he climbed the fence and went after a pigeon. Elliot rubbed his forehead. Okay, new plan. You're going to take the rings. Lila smiled from ear to ear. Really, yes. Just don't run after pigeons too. She laughed and skipped off. The music started with an out-of-tune guitar played by one of the teenagers in the music workshops. The chairs were filled with a chaotic mix of neighbors, friends, volunteers, and curious people who came to check if it was really true. Sophia entered beside Aunt Maria, who wore a floral dress and a hat much too big for the occasion, but perfectly suited to her personality. Remember, Aunt Maria whispered, as they walked, a wedding isn't a promise of paradise. It's a battle partnership. Choose your battles and your jokes carefully. Sophia smiled. Elliot was standing, waiting for her with moist eyes, not from nervousness but from fulfillment, as if finally everything was in its place. You really came, he said when she stopped by his side. Only because I knew Milo would run away. I thought you were going to change your mind again. I almost did, but I realized this isn't about certainty. It's about courage. Then let's go with courage. The ceremony was led by Nora, Elliot's legal advisor, who had ditched the heels and suit for a yellow linen dress and a beaded necklace made by one of the kids. We are here. She began holding the microphone with a genuine smile, to celebrate something you don't see every day, a love that survived, doubt, the press, a runaway cat, and even a public rejection in front of an uncomfortable audience. The crowd laughed. Elliot and Sophia did too. This couple doesn't need eternal promises, Nora continued. They need clear agreements, emotionally revisable clauses, and lots of humor. Because if there's one thing I've learned from them, It's that love only survives if we remember to laugh between one crisis and the next. Lila appeared running with a cushion holding 2 simple silver rings made from recycled silver by a community artisan. Elliot picked up his ring and, looking at Sophia, said, "I promise I won't run away when the dishes pile up or when the bills arrive. I promise to listen to you even when I don't understand a thing you're saying. I promise to choose you every day, even on the hard days." Sophia held his hand firmly. "And I promise not to expect answers for everything. I promise to be honest even when it's tough. I promise to take care of your silence and share mine. And most of all, I promise to laugh at your bad jokes as long as you laugh at mine too." They exchanged rings to spontaneous applause and emotional hugs. Nothing about it was conventional. Everything was deeply true. The party was as expected a delightful mess. There was cake made by 3 different neighbors, one with corn, one with carrot, and one with chocolate and soft brigadeiro frosting. There was improvised dancing with a playlist made by a teenager with questionable taste. There were kids eating marshmallows instead of lunch, and adults drinking soda from glass cups. Sophia and Elliot danced in the middle of the yard, tripping over each other's feet, laughing, missing steps, completely unaware of the many eyes watching them. "Do you think they'll write about this on gossip sites?" Elliot asked, spinning her slowly. "No, this is too personal to make the headlines. And yet it feels like the ending of a movie. Maybe, but I'd rather think of it as the start of another one." Later, while they were collecting chairs, Sophia found Elliot sitting on the steps at the entrance, his jacket on his lap and bare feet running away from the mess. "Trying to hold everything here," he said, tapping his chest. "My whole life I thought I needed everything to be someone. Today I realized all I needed was a little ground, a roof, and you." She sat down beside him. "Do you still miss everything you left behind?" "Some things, but I've learned that peace is too expensive when you pay for it with your own identity." "And who are you now?" "A man who had everything, lost everything, and found what really matters in the middle of the sidewalk." She rested her head on his shoulder. "I've changed too. Before I wanted to prove I was strong, independent, invincible. Today I just want to fall knowing someone will help me get back up." "I'll help you," he said, "but I warn you I might fall with you. Then we'll fall together and get up laughing." Their wedding didn't make the cover of a magazine. No television network showed up. No celebrity posted a picture. But in the months that followed, more than 20 new kids started attending the center. A new mural was painted with the hands of all the volunteers, and a recycling project became a local reference, thanks to a simple idea from Elliot: turn what's discarded into something beautiful. Sophia started teaching writing workshops for women in the community. Elliot created a mentorship network for young social entrepreneurs, and the Bibliocaro, which had wobbly wheels, was replaced by a colorful van nicknamed Bibliovan. Sometimes the past knocked on their door: a curious journalist, a business proposal, an old acquaintance from the company, but none of them could reach the couple who had built their own world with their own rules. And what about Sophia's ex Julian showed up months later, sending a digital invite to the launch of his new startup. Sophia smiled, deleted the email, and without any resentment, went back to painting a child's face with blue paint. She already had everything she needed, and curiously none of what she once thought she wanted. On the first anniversary of the Semilla Center, Elliot organized another ceremony just for them. No audience, no formal clothes, just a note taped to the door with the message: "Want to renew the contract?" Sophia responded with another sheet of paper: "Only if I can add more clauses." Like what he asked. Like mandatory kisses when waking up laughing together, even on hard days, setting aside one Sunday a month to do absolutely nothing. "Approved," he said with indefinite validity. She signed it with a blue marker right in the middle of his forehead just to annoy him, and he laughed like someone who knew he had won all the battles that truly mattered.